Oh, hello. Welcome. What's your name? Ah, yes. You must be here for your first Viola lesson, is that correct? Well, welcome. Come and take a seat. My name is Miss Liz, and I'm going to be your teacher. So, how excited are you? Fantastic. The viola is a beautiful instrument. It's my primary instrument as well, so I think we're really going to enjoy ourselves today. So, could you tell me, do you know anything about the viola? No? That's okay. But we're here to learn. Okay. So you have your case with you. You can do viola within the case. It does happen before people have forgotten their instruments in their case. So this is my instrument. And before we take yours out, we're just going to go over some stuff on my viola and just general information as well. So I have here it's just a plain copybook that you are going to bring back and forth with you to each lesson we have. So what I'm going to do in here is just start writing down some notes for you as we go on. So things that we've practiced today, so you can look back, it's going to be less important for our first few lessons, but as we start progressing with the instrument, we're going to write notes here with the date, what we practiced, what we did, and then as well towards the bottom down here, I will start writing things I want you to work on and things that you should have prepared for the next lesson, okay? So pop that over there for now. Something else you need to be bringing with you to each and every lesson is a pencil. Do you know why I say a pencil and not just a writing utensil? So we never want to write on any of our music in something permanent, like pen or marker, crayon, anything like that. The only thing you use on your music is a pencil. Do you know why? Yeah, so you might write things in your music and that change as you progress. You might need to write reminders. Fingerings can change, and the fingerings are how we play the notes, because there are several ways to play each and every note. Okay? So for example, I'm going to grab one of my pieces of music. So as you can see, I have different things written in, places here where I might forget, or I frequently play that note too low, certain fingerings that I choose, up bows and down bows, which we'll go over, circling some important things in the music, like making sure I start very loudly there and remember to drop down in some places. And fingerings, let me see. Some of the fingerings have changed in this piece. Yes, around here, as you can see, I have some eraser marks, things I've taken out of my music. So that's why we use a pencil. Also, something really important to note about music is that this is not a final copy. I say that as, yes, this is my copy of the music, but it's never going to be written or interpreted the same by every single musician. So for example, I'm going to do fingerings different than some other ones. I'm going to take out and add bows. As you can see here, I don't play this bit all connected in one bow, I break it up. And that's okay. Music is meant to be written on, so you don't have to worry about, oh, I can't write on this, I have to give it back. You purchase your music, this is your music, okay? So I'm going to grab a book that is still a bit advanced for you, but it is I have on hand. So this is the Suzuki Viola school book. This is what I have from a little bit older student that I bought it, but it's going to serve a purpose for us to check. So we need to start, okay? Let me see if I can get it. So, looking here, the first thing we're going to talk about is the clef in the key. Okay, so this is probably the clef you're most familiar with, correct? This is called G clef or treble clef, okay? They all have different symbols at the start of the music line. So the music lines you can see here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, and each of them symbolize a different note where you play it. And because there are many different instruments, both string instruments and wind instruments, brass instruments and whatnot, that, you know, the violin and the tuba are not going to be able to play the same exact note. We have clefs to tell us where we're playing it. We're not going to get into too much right now, but this is the soprano clef, not the soprano clef. It's played by soprano instruments like the violin. This is the G clef. The viola is has a very interesting makeup, where it is not as high as a violin, but can play very high violin notes, not as low as a cello or bass, but can also play those very low notes. So it doesn't fit exactly into each of those categories. So what we have instead is its own clef. This, what you see here, is the alto clef, okay? The viola is one of the only instruments, if not the only instrument, I can't remember, don't touch me too much, that plays with the alto clef here. So it kind of looks like a fancy 3, if you can see, right? That's our alto clef, okay? That's the most important thing to do here. The other thing I'm going to briefly touch on, we're going to ignore the clefs here for a minute, is that every note gets a different value. So for example, you check the time signature to start right after the clef, and also the order that it goes is going to go clef, key signature, time signature, okay? So you can write that down if you want, otherwise it'll come with you for practice. So you have the clef here, so this is G clef, followed by the key signature, which is going to be either like a hashtag or a B. Okay, there's a few different ones, we'll get more into it, but you need to keep in mind hashtag or B or nothing. If it says nothing, that is a clef on itself, or a key signature in itself. We're not going to go into that right now though, okay? And then you have a time signature. So it's going to be something like this. As you can see here, it's 3, 4. We don't need to go into what they are yet. We will get to it, okay? Just want to familiarize you with the terms, okay? So, as you can see here, there are 1, 2, 3 notes in the bar. That's where the 3 comes from. Don't need to worry about that. Just explaining in case you're curious. You see how these ones look different than that one? This one is going to get a different value than this one. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? Again, we're just doing very, very brief music theory right now. we will dive more into it, and I know in school when you do music lessons they will also explain to you a bit more. I just want to get you familiar with it instead of jumping right in. I think it's very useful. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to actually draw you a little diagram before we take out our instruments. Okay. So, on here, right, we're just going to ignore, I'm just going to draw on this. So you have, make sure that's connected. So, just as your basic. So how it starts is this up here is the longest or the most values. The most, right? And then it goes down to here, which is the least. So it goes most to least, right? So this is called a whole note. This gets the most value out of any of the notes here. Okay, and this is a half note. This gets half the value of this first note. This is called a quarter note. It gets half the value of this note, a half note, and a quarter of the value of our whole note. Then we have an eighth note, which is going to get half the value of our quarter note, and an eighth the value of our whole note. Then we have a 16th note. Again, it's going to get half the value of our quarter note and a 16th of the value of our whole note. Okay? We're just going to really focus on these three right now. So whole, half, and quarter. So if we were to clap that out, right? So if I said we had 1, 2, 3, 4 in a measure, our whole note would get 1, 2, 3, 4. If we had 2 half notes in a measure, we get 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we had 4 quarter notes in a measure, and the measure was worth 4, we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's try that again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So let's do a little bit of rhythm work, if we will. So I'm going to draw out some rhythms. So we're going to do 4/4 time. Doesn't mean anything, that just means we're doing the same thing we were just doing. There's 4 beats in the measure, okay? You don't need to worry about anything else. How are you finding the lesson so far? Is it not too bad? So I just have some very basic rhythms we're going to do together now, okay? So 4/4. What this means, just briefly, as I said, it's kind of easier to, as you go through it, to understand. So we have 4/4. So what that means is that there's 4 beats in a measure, and this means that this one gets the beat. Do you need to understand? But that's what that means. So let's do it together. So ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, get the idea. Fantastic. Alright, so that's a very, very basic intro to music theory. Alright, so let's go ahead and we'll get our violas out and do a little bit of work with them. So, with the instruments, there's two main parts. There's the viola and then there's the bow. I only need you right now to take out the viola part, and we're not going to touch the bow for a little while, okay? So, this is the viola. As you can see, it is a smaller instrument. It's not as big as a cello or a bass. But we play it like a violin, we play that violin. So, we're just going to go over some basic information about the viola and maybe play just a little bit. Okay. So, the viola has 4 strings that go from the highest to the lowest. We have A, D, G, and C. So A is our highest, then D, G, C. We share some of the strings with the violin and some of the strings with the cello. So our strings actually match with the cello. So cello also has A, D, G, and C. The difference between the viola and the violin and the cello is that we have this low C string, where the violins have a high A string that's higher than our A, a high E string that's higher than our A. Okay, that's the difference. Up here at the top is something called the scroll that holds all of these strings in here. These are pegs that we use to tune, and we also have some fine tuners down here at the bottom. Okay. The viola is made of wood, as you can hear, and there are different sizes to them. So something that's quite different compared to the violin is that violin you can have sizes. So you have a quarter size, half, 3/4, and full size. All full size violins are the same. That's because it has to do with the resonance and the perfect kind of harmonies to do with the strings. The viola is different though, because it's bigger. We don't have a full sized viola. So you can get people who play, and we measure these in inches, a 13-inch or 14-inch viola, which would be equivalent to like a full-size violin. You can get really big ones. I have a larger one. This is a 16-inch viola from scroll to bottom. Now we measure the size is, let's see if you can see, if I put this up on my chin and I measure it, you want the scroll to come to the base of your wrist like that. So these change as you grow. So once you stop growing, you can purchase your perfect full-size viola. Right. Okay. So when you hold your viola, there's usually a shoulder pad on the back here, but we're not going to bother taking that out today because we're not going to be playing too much. You hold it and you hold it in with your chin, in between your chin and your shoulder. Your hand should be able to go free. You shouldn't be using your hands to hold your viola up, okay? Because you need to be able to move your hands up and down the viola like so, to be able to play all different things. Because we're not just going to stay in one position like when instruments do. We move up and down, okay? So we're going to just do some very basic playing. We're going to learn Twinkle Twinkle, so you can hold it here, yeah, just like so. And you take your hand, and we're going to do something called pizzicato, okay? Because we play with our fingers. So going to take it. You don't want to use your nail. No nail. You use the thumb pad. Not the thumb pad, the finger pad. Okay. So you're gonna follow me. It's gonna go D, D, A, A. Okay. Then you're gonna you want to position your hand back here. Okay. Your thumb is gonna come around on the side, and then it's gonna leave your fingers free. So your thumb is never gonna touch the strings. It's gonna stay back here. And on your viola, yeah, you have those fingering charts, correct? It's going to tell you where to place your fingers. So, for example, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You could do that anywhere. That's all we're going to touch on today, okay? So, follow me. It doesn't have to be perfectly in tune. I just want you to get a feel for it, okay? Your first finger down on that A string, that I want to get B, and then open it. So let me hear you try. Good job. Okay, ready? Now the next part's easy. So you're gonna go 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, open. So we have no fingers on the viola. That's what we call open position. You're just playing the open string. Okay, so let's try to put that all together. Viola, before we part, this is the bridge. Okay, this is not glued in place, because there are often situations where parents, the bridge isn't held in by tension of the strings. So if the bridge ever pops off, do not glue it back on, anything like that. Okay, if the bridge pops off, just put your viola away and bring it back to me, and I can put it back on very easily. Okay. These are the F chords that make the sound. Right. And something else, make sure that you wash your hands before you handle the instrument, because you have oils on your hands that can transfer onto the base of the instrument, which is not what we want. Okay. This is only an introductory lesson. We are now at time. What I want you to practice, and I'll write this down in your copy for the next lesson, is I want you just to practice with your rhythms, okay? So I will be giving you a sheet, and it has different rhythms, so I just want you to practice clapping. So it's just going to be your whole notes, your quarter notes, and your half notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's all I want you to practice. I have a variety of them. Practice it, maybe 10 minutes a day. So when we meet again next week, we can go over those and we can continue on, because understanding the rhythms is the basic bit of music. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed your first music lesson, and I hope to see you soon.